Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today. One of the last episodes we talked about the next generation of the Bugatti Veyron, which is actually going to have technically a different name. But that being said, Martin Winterkorn, the head of Volkswagen Group, has confirmed that this vehicle will become a hybrid setup. Now, they will continue on with the 8-liter W16 quad turbocharged unit that's in the machine now, but depending on the reports you hear from, that some folks are talking about an electric engine that's going to be mounted up behind the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Other people are talking about the possibility of at least a pair of the 4 turbochargers are going to be electrified, meaning that they'll be at full boost at any time during the rev range. Now, that being said, this vehicle's still going to be all-wheel drive. They're still supposedly going after at least 1,500 brake horsepower, and the possibility of this vehicle being able to do a sub 2.5 seconds to 60 and a top speed of over 280 miles an hour. Again, this vehicle is still in early development, so we'll keep you in tune if we hear any more. Next up on the list, well, the TVR group had an interesting situation. Now, you get a lot of manufacturers that come out all the time and they go away, and then somebody tries to revive them, and then you think, man, I really hope that this happens, but chances are slim. Well, the TVR group had an interesting situation early part of the year where they announced they were going to run Cosworth engines, and Gordon Murray, the father of the McLaren F1, was going to design this machine. Well, apparently I'm not the only one excited about TVR's return, because some folks are putting their money where their mouth is. TVR is now taking deposits because they have gotten so much interest in their upcoming automobile, which hasn't even been shown off yet and won't even be in existence till 2017. They're taking £5,000 for non-TVR club owners and £2,500 for TVR club members. So it's a pretty interesting little situation, and the biggest thing I look at from this deal is this is just more operating capital for them to really get this thing off the ground. Cannot wait to see this new TVR in action, so hopefully we'll have a whole lot more news coming very soon. Next up on the list, the old Camaro hasn't even reached dealer showrooms here in the United States, and we're already talking about that General Motors is going to be taking this car worldwide. Well, there's an interesting situation for the Euro Spec Camaro because it's going to lose one of the power units, which is kind of interesting. Now, the vehicle comes with 3 different power engines in the United States, one being the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, the one being the 3.6-liter normally aspirated V6, and also the 6.2-liter normally aspirated V8. Well, the trick is that one of these 3 options is going to be missing in the Eurospec one, and before you get all nervous if you live over in the European market, it's going to be the least interesting of the 3. Yes, the 3.6-liter normally aspirated V6 will not make an appearance in the Eurospec machine. It's only going to have the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and the 6.2-liter normally aspirated V8. Now, to me, if you're going to get a Camaro, you might as well get the V8, but if you're not going to get the V8, you get the Turbo 4 because it's at least more interesting than the other options. So it's going to be interesting to see just which one exactly sells more than the other, not only here in the United States, but all around the world. Next up on the list, an interesting little situation. We talked about the Nuburgring actually creating these speed limits that were going to be, well, for race cars, for anything that actually flops around the old Nuburgring Nordschleife loop. Well, apparently there's been a couple of reports out that now they may be relaxing that particular rule, especially when it comes to manufacturers, which is exciting news, especially for the folks over at the Koenigsegg Group who want to topple the 918 Spyder from Porsche from the top of the list with the brand new 1-to-1. Now, this has got a situation where it got me thinking, and I think it's probably more of a financial situation for the Nürburgring ownership group rather than anything else, because the manufacturer is a big part of what keeps this thing alive. The actual events at the track are a good portion of it, the public days, but a big part is shutting this place down for manufacturer testing and for these record runs, because there's a lot of manufacturers that will pay to shut down the course, and they actually have permanent facilities right on the circuit grounds to actually do a lot of testing. So this may be more of a, well, financial situation than it is anything else, but nonetheless, cannot be any more happy about this deal. Next up on the list, the folks over at Red Bull Racing, and we talked about this in the last episode, where one of their big gun fellas that work in the team, Christian Horner, and also Adrian Newey, were talking about building a road car, as Adrian Newey wanted a road car legacy, if you will. Well, in an interesting situation, we talked about that their affiliation with Infiniti and Nissan, not to mention their power source provider, which is Renault, which is underneath the Infiniti Nissan group. Now, an interesting situation. Now, the day of the taping of this program, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone was actually taking place, and there was a rumor flopping around the paddock that actually Infiniti Red Bull may be going with another partnership and getting rid of Infiniti and going to these guys, which are Aston Martin. Aston Martin hasn't been in Formula One since 1960. Now, why would they go to Aston Martin, you ask? Maybe, well, if you think about it a little bit, Aston Martin's in bed with Mercedes-Benz, and Mercedes-Benz has the best power units that are on the grid, on the Formula One grid right now. The most reliable, the quickest, and not to mention this has the approval of Mercedes-Benz, supposedly, because Mercedes-Benz wants to sell more power units in Formula One to offset the cost of their factory race team, even though their factory race team is pretty much cleaning a house when it comes to the championship this year. So, interesting little situation, but this may have a big effect if the rumors were true about that road car. Would they still work with Infiniti Nissan, or would they work with Renault, or would they now work with Aston Martin, maybe with a Mercedes power vehicle? Again, I may be just grasping at straws trying to prolong this particular situation as far as the story is concerned, because there may be really nothing, if anything, of Red Bull and Adrian Newey and Christian Horner may be building an absolute supercar. But again, I'll keep you in tune if we hear more. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, it's updated every day. If you like us over there, we appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel so you get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.